Everyone, I want to do a quick recap on at least the current state of the Cherwell Users Guide to ITSM Platforms. So at the very beginning, I mentioned that I was going through all 13 ITSM platforms that were represented at Service Management World 2024 and evaluating how familiar they would be to you all coming from a Cherwell background. Basically, based on my experience with Cherwell and basically no other ITSM platforms. Um, how easy was it for me to figure out how to build things? How easy was it for me to figure out how to configure the things that you might be looking at? And what are these platforms' strengths and weaknesses, especially compared to some of the areas where Cherwell really shined, or some of the areas where I knew that Cherwell was really heavily used. So things like form customization and workflow automation and that sort of thing. And before I went into any of this, I had actually gotten the question of, what platforms should I be looking at? And at the time, I think I was on the bus coming home from the airport uh, from Service Management World, and at that time, I had my experience of having seen some of these vendors at the conference, having seen a little bit of a demo. At a trade show, they have like, 2 minutes, 5 minutes to give you, the flashy demo of whatever they're currently showing off, whatever they're currently very proud of, which may or may not have anything to do with, where you're coming from, especially with me being in a unique position. I was not in the market for a new ITSM platform. All I had in my mind was how Cherwell worked. So at the time, I recommended that people look. I basically came up with a top five, and at the time, it was Halo ITSM, Easy Vista, Invigate, Freshdesk, and Atlassian. Well, JSM, right? And the reason for four out of the five of those, Halo, Easy Vista, Freshdesk, and Atlassian, is because those are the four that I think the majority of Cherwell partners have moved to. Obviously, Cherwell partners also have to decide what platform they're going to work with, once Cherwell goes away, or now that Cherwell is going away. And those four are really the four that a lot of Cherwell partners have hitched their wagon to and are representing. Um, and I think they can kind of fit into two camps. So Halo and Easy Vista, I'm going to kind of lump together. Freshdesk and Atlassian, I'm going to kind of lump together because Freshdesk and Atlassian are both significantly larger companies. Um, Sorry, I should say not Freshdesk, Fresh Service. Freshdesk is a separate thing, but the company has gone through a couple name changes. So Fresh Service is specifically their service management offering. They do have a thing called Freshdesk, which is more like a customer support help desk sort of thing. Uh, but Fresh Service is their enterprise version. So those two are more on the larger scale. They're much larger companies, and at the time I had much less experience with either of them. Halo and Easy Vista, uh, I felt like were more, even though Easy Vista has been around a long time and Halo's not that young as a company either. They were a little scrappier and a little more, um, you know, on the energy side. So Halo ITSM is really excited about getting the Cherwell business and working with customers a lot similar to how Cherwell was in its early days. And Easy Vista has a lot of former Cherwell employees working there. So that's kind of why those two ended up on the list. Now, Invigate is the only one of those five that made it onto that list because of what I saw at the conference. Their software was front and center on display at their booth, and it looks amazing. It is the only platform out there that I can really say looks modern. It looks like it's a joy to use. And the more I get into it, the more I verified that. Every aspect of what they've built is easy to use, feels modern, feels like they really thought through uh, the user experience, the user interface, and really took the time to polish it. It doesn't feel like an old, stale legacy piece of software, even though the company's not. It's not super young. They're not super old either. Um, but it certainly doesn't feel like a piece of software that's been around for, you know, even 5 years, right? Maybe the core of it has been around for a long, long time, but it feels like something that was built for the needs of users in 2025. So now that I've gone through this process of actually evaluating all of these platforms, I wanted to go back and uh, talk about if there were any standouts aside from these five, or maybe replacing these five. Um, and I want to say that Invigate absolutely deserves a spot on my list of recommendations. Again, like I just said, everything about it feels really fantastic. It got high marks on all of the categories that I was evaluating all of these products on, um, and their people are an absolute joy to work with. Um, they have a wealth of documentation, a wealth of content, tons of YouTube videos. Um, you absolutely will not feel lost if you jump into the platform, even though there are definitely some aspects that aren't built exactly the same as Cherwell. They don't feel exactly the same as Cherwell. There may be things that you feel like are missing compared to your experience with Cherwell, but I do feel like every aspect that I tested has a really strong offering. And even if it's not exactly like Cherwell, it gives you the power and the tools to do what you need to do with it. Another one that I was really surprised by was SolarWinds, uh, formerly Samanage. So 2 or 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago now, maybe, SolarWinds bought a company called Samanage. And I didn't really know what to expect. I know SolarWinds has a lot of products, and I know lots of people have lots of opinions about SolarWinds products. So I kind of went in with very low expectations. One of the things that Samanage slash SolarWinds does really well is its form customization. I think it had the, if not the best, very close to the best form customization options, again, coming from a Cherwell background. So if you extensively customized your forms, if you had extensive logic on when certain fields should show up, why they should show up, how they should be populated, anything like that, check out SolarWinds, uh, because I think you'll be really impressed. Um, Granted, there were other aspects of that particular product that weren't necessarily strong. So if you're using some of those features, you know, do your own evaluation. But if you really, really, really want to customize your forms, check out SolarWinds. The other two I want to mention were kind of unique. Um, they aren't necessarily standouts, across the board. And I wouldn't necessarily say that these are maybe the best ITSM platforms, in a head-to-head competition. But they are two that had really unique positioning. And one is GLPI. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because it was the only one of all 13 that was, is, and always, or at least, for now, always will be open source. I would guess that it probably always will be as well. The company is a French company, I believe. Yeah, French company. Um, it's built in PHP, and their whole premise idea is build this open source thing and then uh, basically open it up to the partner community. Um, right. So partners are a huge part of how GLPI gets out and implemented in the world. Again, it's a PHP app. It feels like kind of like WordPress for ITSM, in that it's very plugin driven, but also it's a lot more um, solid. It's enterprise grade as opposed to WordPress, which is decidedly not. Um, but GLPI is worth checking out. Some interesting ideas around how they've implemented some of the concepts. Very plugin driven, very customizable. Of course, because of that, it's not very no code. It's actually very high code, right? It's all a bunch of PHP plugins. Um, if you're willing to write PHP, learn how to do some plugin development, or work with a partner who is willing to do that, then that might be an option. But they are the only ones that had an open source offering. They are not the only open source offering in the world, but they were the only ones at Service Management World that had an open source offering. The other one I want to mention is Case, which is the offering from Quest Software. Now, I should mention that Case is not first and foremost a service management tool. Actually, GLPI isn't first and foremost a service management tool either. It started on the asset management side, and they're actually kind of early in their service management journey. The next version to come out is supposed to have a lot more improved service management capabilities. So I'll be excited to see what that looks like when it comes out. Um, but Case is it's a it is a specifically a self-hosted uh, service desk and then some asset management, endpoint management. I think that's right. Monitoring, a bunch of other stuff. It's designed to be like the brains behind all the behind the scenes happenings of your data center, whether that be in a cloud like AWS or Azure, or actually an on-prem data center. But they ship a VM appliance. They used to ship a physical appliance. Now they ship a virtual appliance. They do not have a hosted offering. It is 100% self-hosted, um, which is pretty cool. Like they don't want to be in the business of hosting your data, of hosting your system. They build the software, give it to you to run, and it does a lot. It is really capable. In fact, the service desk is a tiny fraction of what this piece of software does. It's systems management appliance, I think SMA, Case SMA is technically the name of the product. So that was interesting to check out. And that's another one that I think deserves a special mention. So in addition to the five that I mentioned at the beginning, Halo, Easy Vista, Invigate, Freshdesk, Atlassian, uh, it's also worth mentioning Invigate again. Um, SolarWinds was impressive, and GLPI and uh, Quest Software's Case, specifically Case SMA. I think Case is actually a product line. The other thing that's worth mentioning is we're actually interested in partnering with some or all of these vendors, certainly some more than others. We actually signed an agreement with Invigate. It was during the process of building out this report, but it was after we had done the write-up on Invigate. Um, Basically, we were so impressed with the Invigate platform that we decided that we actually want to have a stronger relationship with them. So if you are interested in Invigate specifically, we'd be more than happy to introduce you to them. Uh, and um, we have a relationship there, so we can very quickly and easily get you access to resources. Obviously, you can sign up for a trial, and their onboarding is fantastic. They had absolutely the best onboarding um, out of all of the platforms. Even though there are plenty of platforms that have free trials, or you can find a demo instance or a training instance or something like that. Invigate had hands down the best onboarding process. Um, and we are in conversations with some of the other platforms about potentially representing them or potentially having a deeper relationship. Obviously, we build software. Um, so we're looking at it from many different angles. Either we integrate with the platforms, which in a lot of cases, we don't actually have to have a formal relationship with any of these platforms in order to integrate with them because most, if not all of them, have a public API that we can just build to. Uh, but we really want to have those stronger relationships so that we can all be on the same page and make sure that we're building things that work with their intended use cases, and they're able to understand what we're trying to do, and bring it to their customers as well. So the relationship goes both ways. Invigate is just the first vendor that we've made that relationship with. Um, I should say we also have a relationship with Avanti because we were a Cherwell partner from way well back in the day, but obviously Cherwell's going away, so that point is kind of moot. Um, if you're interested in working with us with another one of those vendors and you want us to prioritize one of those relationships, certainly let us know. Leave a comment down below or send me an email directly. My contact information is down in the video description. If you want a link to, or if you want the full PDF of all of the reports on all of these different vendors, there's a link down in the video description for that. You can put your email in and it'll just send you the PDF. And I did mention that I think there were three vendors that I actually didn't get a chance to get my hands on. So technically the report is preliminary just because those three are missing. If and when those three get added, there'll be an updated version. And if your email is on the list, you'll automatically get the updated copy once I'm able to evaluate those platforms. Um, but for now, even though it's preliminary, simply because it's missing three vendors, the report is basically done. Highly recommend checking that out. Again, 10 different vendors, all evaluated on various different criteria that I think are important to folks coming from Cherwell, features that were very highly used uh, from Cherwell. I had fun doing it. I learned a lot about all of these different platforms. Lots of great platforms out there. Every single one of them had something to offer. Um, so I definitely recommend that you check that out. And with that, I'm going to bring this video and the playlist to a close. Thank you for watching. If you made it through the entire playlist, thank you for spending the time. I know some of these videos have been kind of long, um, just because there's a lot to talk about. And if you have any questions that I didn't cover in any of these videos, please leave a comment down below or send me an email. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one.